Adult colouring books have become hugely popular over the last few years, but you might be having some trouble trying to get certain techniques and effects in your adult colouring drawings. So I am here to help you with today's video, and I'm going to be giving you some helpful tips on how to improve your drawings. As always, if you haven't already, please do subscribe to my channel and turn the notification bell on because it really helps my channel out. And I also have my Instagram and Patreon page listed down below as well. So tip 1 is layering, and if you want to get great layering results, then I've got some great techniques for you to try. The first is hand position. For example, if you hold your pencil further down the pencil barrel, it means that you can create more of an even distribution of colour, whereas if you hold the pencil closer to the tip, you can concentrate a lot more pressure onto the paper. You also want to be using sharp pencils, because sharp pencils means that you can get into the grain of the paper and really create that great coverage results. And I definitely recommend keeping your pencils sharp as well, because if you have blunt pencils, and the blunt pencils can actually scratch your paper and you can get quite scratchy results, whereas with sharp pencils you can get much smoother results. With layering, you also want to start off with light layers and gradually build up your layers, so going from light to mid to dark. This is going to help you to create gradients, depth and dimension in your drawings. When you overlap colours, it's going to enable you to mix colours together a lot more easily, and by starting with a light pressure, it's going to enable you to create more layers rather than burnishing too early on and not being able to apply any more layers. By going in the opposite direction as well, it means that you're going to cancel out any areas where you have harsh lines or stubborn areas that won't blend. Also, by going in circular motions, because circles have no start and stop lines, that's going to cancel those out in your drawings. So by working in light layers and going in the opposite direction with your pencil and creating circular motions when you blend, it's going to create an easy transition of colour like what we have here, going from the yellow into an orange and red. And the same with this green here. You can see how we've gone from light to mid to dark tones, and it just creates that really nice soft gradient. This is going to be a great technique for you to use in your coloured pencil drawings, because it's going to create that smooth coverage. Tip 2 is burnishing. So when you want to go in and apply a very heavy hand and create lots of pressure to cancel out the white grain and flatten the tooth of the paper. In order to do this, you don't want to be going in stop and start lines. You want to make sure that you're going in circular motions, because circles have no stop and start lines, so therefore it's going to cancel out all of the white grain and really flatten the tooth of the paper. With adult colouring books, creating some areas with heavy pressure is great for getting in those results. You want to use sharp pencils, because sharp pencils get into all the nitty-gritty areas of the adult colouring books, whereas blunt pencils can become very scratchy and not give you the results that you're wanting. If we take a look at the drawing that I'm working on now, see how going in with a sharp pencil really fills in all of the white grain of the paper. I'm also using circular motions and applying a lot of pressure by applying the pencil directly onto the paper and holding the pencil very close to the tip as well. This is going to allow me to have a lot more control over the pencil and really apply that heavy area of shading and colour. I'm making sure to really concentrate this colour where I want it and create that harsh and strong definition of colour. If you're wanting to make areas pop, then burnishing technique is great for this, because it will enable you to really intensify those colours. Tip 3 is shading. So if you're wanting to create a lot of depth and dimension in your adult colouring books and drawings, shading is really important. So see here how I'm creating a lot of shading. So I'm going from light to mid to dark and really trying to create that definition in my drawing. You want to start with the lightest colour first because it will be much more difficult for you to go in with a light colour over a dark. So you want to start off light and allow those colours to show through. For example, here I am shading in the lightest colour that I have, which is this pink colour here. This is going to enable this colour to still show through when I apply some medium and dark tones. Then you want to incorporate your medium tones, so start shading in a darker colour and try and incorporate and transition it in with the lightest tones. This is going to enable you to build up a lot of dimension and contrast in your drawings. You can see here how I'm going in with a medium coloured green and I'm trying to transition the light in with the dark. This is also going to add a lot more tone and dimension to my drawings. Then what we want to do is go in with the darkest tones last. This is going to really make the drawing pop and add a lot more contrast to your drawings. Shading can really help to incorporate different areas, make your drawing a lot more three-dimensional as well. I'm also using my circular motions and I'm going in and I'm just making sure to create a nice even coverage of this colour and really build up from the light to medium to dark. The darkest areas also produces a lot of shadows, and shadows are great for adding in that final layer of definition and dimension to your drawings. There's several ways that you can add highlights. The first is naturally by just going in and creating a lot of contrast around a highlight. For example, here you can see that I'm just leaving part of this drawing blank, so I'm leaving white space, and that in turn is creating that highlight. You can also use things like gel pens and archival materials with coloured pencils to create the highlights in your drawings. Another thing that you can do is you can use a white pencil to go in and create some highlights in your drawings, which is what I'm going to be demonstrating in a minute. Here you can see the levels of contrast that I have created in this circle drawing that I've done. So see how that highlight in the center is really strong, and it's because I've left a lot of white space and I've concentrated my pencil in other areas of this drawing. To really make the highlight pop even more, I am using a white pencil. And what I'm doing is I'm creating circular motions and using a hard pressure to go in and overlay this colour over the drawing. And what that will do is it will flatten the tooth of the paper and create a strong white highlight that will then make the drawing come more to life. Tip 5 is shadows. So to really get the most from your adult colouring drawings, you want to create a lot of shadows, because again, shadows means that it's going to add a lot more depth to your drawings. To create shadows, the number one thing that you need to do is create a lot of contrast. So you want to have a lot of contrast between your light and darkest tones. You can see me here building up from the lightest to darkest tones. I'm going in with a light colour, building into midtones, and then going in and creating a lot of shadows. To create shadows, you want to be using your darkest pencils. So whatever your colour palette is, choose the darkest pencils from that. For example, a dark blue, dark green, black pencil, and that will be your shadowed colours. Values that you create is going to add a lot more contrast. So to get values into your drawing, you want to be using the darkest colours from your colour palette. For example, here I'm using a dark blue and purple to really add that contrast into the drawing and get that value in. A lot of people miss the values in their adult colouring drawings, which is why they don't get the results that they're wanting of really making that drawing pop. Value and shadows is one of the most important factors for getting that in. By adding a lot more shadow in, you just add a lot more interest to your drawings as well. For example, here you can see me adding in a lot more shadowed colours. Tip 6 is details. Details are very important, and what you don't want to be doing is using blunt pencils if you're trying to create details. Blunt pencils is going to give you a very thick and fuzzy result, whereas if you use sharp pencils, they are going to be best for details because the lines and details are going to be much crisp and clearer than using blunt pencils. So what you want to do is always make sure that you're sharpening your pencils. Here I'm using the Derwent Superpoint manual sharpener. I do have this sharpener listed down below, and this is a great sharpener for sharpening all ranges of coloured pencils. If you're wanting to create a lot of detail, sharp pencils are best because they fill in the grain of the white paper. Whereas with blunt pencils, it can actually scratch the surface of the paper and not really go into all the nitty-gritty areas of a drawing. There is also a difference between wax and oil-based pencils. Wax-based pencils are going to be a lot more softer than oil-based pencils, so they typically aren't as good for creating detail. The lines are going to appear more thick and fuzzy, whereas with oil-based pencils the lines are going to be a lot more crisp and sharper. So this is definitely something to bear in mind when you're drawing in adult colouring books, because if you are using a wax-based pencil, it might be more difficult for you to go in and create detail. Also, blunt pencils are hard to get details because they are blunt and they're not sharp and can't provide that crisp and clear detail. If you're using wax-based pencils such as the Prisma colour pencils, you want to make sure to continue to frequently sharpen the pencils to keep that sharp point, and then you will notice that you will get better results with using sharp pencils. So those were my top 6 tips on how to create much better results in your adult colouring books and drawings. And I really do hope that this video helped you if you are a beginner and you're looking to improve your drawings. If you haven't already, please do make sure that you do subscribe to my channel, and make sure that you leave a suggestion down below of videos that you'd like to see in the future, because there's lots of things that I want to be trialing and uploading on my channel. I also do have my Patreon page listed down below, and I just want to give a quick shout out to anybody that is a patron. Thank you so much for all of your continued support. I really hope that you did enjoy this video, and as always, keep creating, and I will see you soon. Bye everybody!